My name is Betty Howard. I'm 29 years old, and for the last 4 years, I thought I was building a life with the man I loved. That man was Stephen. When I first met him, he had this restless charm, always full of ideas, always chasing something new. I was the anchor, the one who paid the bills on time, fixed the little things around the house, and reminded him that life could be stable without being boring. At least that's what I believed. For years, I convinced myself we were solid. I handled the rent, the groceries, even his late-night I-need-space phases. I loved him through it all, and I thought, no, I trusted that he loved me back. But love, I've learned, isn't always what you think it is. Sometimes it's just a word people throw around until something shinier catches their eye. It started with little comments. "You're so predictable, Betty. You never surprise me. I need more excitement, you know." I laughed them off at first. Everyone has bad days. Everyone gets restless. But bad days became bad weeks. Stephen started coming home late, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't his. When I asked about it, he rolled his eyes. "You're so insecure. It's exhausting." A part of me already knew. The distance wasn't just physical, it was emotional, and it was growing by the day. Then one night, after staying out until nearly 3 in the morning, Stephen came home and found me still awake on the couch. He didn't look guilty. He didn't even look tired. He looked settled, like he'd rehearsed what he was about to say. "Betty, we need to talk." His tone made my stomach sink. It wasn't the kind of "we need to talk" that ends in compromise. It was the kind that ends everything. "I don't love you anymore," he said. Eyes steady, like he was reading a script. I blinked, my heart pounding in my ears. "What, I don't love you?" "I haven't for a while. I've just been trying to figure out how to say it." My throat tightened, but I forced myself to stay calm. "So, what does that mean, Stephen?" "It means I need to move on, but I'm not ready to move out yet. I'll stay here until I find a place." For a second, I thought I misheard him. My laugh broke out sharp and bitter, not because anything was funny, but because the absurdity was almost unbearable. "You don't love me, but you want to keep living here with me." He shrugged like it was the most logical thing in the world. "Well, yeah. Rent's expensive, and I'm not just going to throw money away. You can sleep in the guest room if it makes you feel better." I looked around the living room, the couch I'd picked out the walls. I painted the shelves I built. This wasn't just a house. It was my home, the one I carved out of long nights and long paychecks. And he wanted to treat me like a roommate he'd broken up with. "Betty, don't look at me like that," he added quickly. "I'm being reasonable." I met his eyes steady, my voice low. "No, Stephen. You're being selfish." He rolled his eyes. "Here we go. You're going to make this all about you. Typical." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just stood up. My hands trembling, though I hid them at my sides. "I'll be in the guest room tonight." He didn't even notice the weight of what I'd just said. He just turned on the TV like nothing had happened. That night, I lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to him laugh at something on his phone. His voice drifted down the hall like nothing in his world had shifted. But for me, everything had. And as I stared into the dark, one thought crystallized. I wasn't going to let him take my home, my peace, or my dignity with him. The next morning, Stephen brewed coffee like nothing had happened. He hummed, scrolling on his phone, laughing at something I couldn't hear. For a moment, I wondered if I'd imagined the night before, if maybe the words "I don't love you anymore" had been some dream. But then he looked up, caught my eye, and said casually, "Don't forget to pay the electric bill. It's due next week." Just like that, the illusion shattered. I nodded silent. Inside, I was on fire. How could he stand there asking me to cover bills after telling me I was nothing to him? That's when I realized Stephen might think he had me trapped, but he was wrong. I spent the next few days studying the house with a new lens. The walls no longer looked warm, they looked foreign. The photos we'd hung together felt staged. Even his laughter from the living room felt hollow, like echoes in a place I no longer belonged. At night, when he fell asleep, I sat in the guest room with my laptop glowing in the dark. Lease agreement, utilities, bank transfers. Every line I read gave me a strange sense of power. The lease wasn't just ours I had signed. First, I had paid the deposit, and most of the utilities were under my name. The roots of this house were mine, not his. He didn't notice my silence. He didn't notice the way I moved around him like a ghost. If anything, he seemed relieved that I'd stopped asking questions. He stayed out late, came home smelling like new cologne, and tossed his jacket on the couch as if the place belonged solely to him. But I was already shifting things quietly. I opened a new bank account in my name only. I called the internet provider and asked about transferring services. I even started packing small things into boxes and sliding them under the bed. Every move was a step toward freedom. On the third day, he finally noticed. I was in the living room carefully taping the lid shut on a box when he walked in. He froze, his face twisting. "Betty, what the hell is this?" I didn't look up. "What does it look like?" "You're not actually moving out," he said, his voice sharp, almost panicked. "I am." His laugh was bitter, mocking. "Don't be ridiculous. We need to talk about this." I finally met his gaze. Calm, cold. "We talked, Stephen. You said you don't love me. You said you're moving on. So am I." For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. "Where are you even going to go?" he demanded. "That's not your concern." "You're being dramatic," he snapped, crossing his arms. "You can't just abandon me." That word abandon nearly broke my composure. Abandon him. After years of carrying him, of paying, waiting, forgiving, I steadied my breath. "I'm not abandoning you, Stephen. I'm respecting your decision." He scoffed, shaking his head. "You're such a coward. You can't even fight for me." Something inside me almost laughed. Not the laugh of humor, but of disbelief. "Fight for you," I said softly. "You don't want to be fought for. You want to be chased. You want to be begged, and I won't give you that." His mouth opened to argue, but I turned away, sealing the box with a final strip of tape. The sound cut through the silence like a knife. That night, as he went out again with friends, I sat in the guest room and stared at the growing stack of boxes. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to explain. I was going to leave quietly, completely, and on my own terms. By the end of that week, my plan was set. Every night, while Stephen scrolled on his phone or stumbled in late, I prepared quietly. Documents sorted. Utilities shifted, my name carefully untangled from his. The house, once a home, now felt like a stage set I was dismantling piece by piece. On Friday night, he came into the living room and noticed the stack of boxes again. His jaw tightened. "Betty, stop this. You're not actually leaving." I kept my voice steady. "I am. You can't just walk away. We need to work through this. Talk about it." I met his eyes, the coldness in mine catching him off guard. "You ended this, Stephen. I'm just following through." "You're seriously going to leave me here after everything?" My hand paused on the packing tape. "After everything?" "Yes." His face twisted, his anger bubbling. "Unbelievable. You're the selfish one, Betty, not me." I didn't answer. Sometimes silence says more than words. That night, when he left for another late outing, I didn't waste a second. I loaded the car, starting with the things that mattered most. The TV, I bought the laptop, the kitchenware my mother had given me, the box of tools my father once owned. I left behind the couch he'd insisted on buying, the cheap wall art he'd hung up, the towels I no longer wanted to see. I wanted no trace of him in my new life. On the counter, I placed the extra set of keys and a short note written on the back of an old receipt. "Stephen, the lease is in your name now. I've already paid my half of this month's rent. After that, it's on you. Don't contact me. Betty." I stood there for a long moment, staring at the handwriting. My hand trembled, not from regret, but from release. When the last box was in the trunk, I turned off the lights. I didn't slam the door. I didn't leave in rage. I closed it softly, like sealing the last chapter of a book I never wanted to reread. As I pulled out of the driveway, I felt the air filling my lungs lighter than it had been in months. The city lights blurred past, and with every mile I left behind the weight of a man who mistook my love for convenience. The next morning, my phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m. "Stephen, where the hell are you?" I didn't reply. By sunrise, there were 3 more messages. "This isn't funny. We need to talk. Please, Betty." I let them pile up, each one a reminder that for the first time in years, my silence was louder than his words. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sadness. I felt nothing. And that nothingness was freedom. The first 2 days after I left, my phone barely stopped buzzing. Blocked numbers, unknown numbers, even old friends I hadn't spoken to in months. At first, I thought Stephen would stay consistent with his indifference. But no, he turned desperate fast. Day 1, 2:17 a.m., Stephen. "Where the hell are you?" 7:30 a.m. "Stephen. This isn't funny. We need to talk." By noon, the tone changed. "Betty, please. I didn't mean for it to go like this. Just let's talk." I stared at the messages as I sat at my desk at work, sipping coffee, watching notifications roll across the screen like a storm I refused to step into. And the strangest thing, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel pity. I felt weightless. Day 2. The calls escalated. Friends began texting me. First, it was Megan, one of Stephen's loudest cheerleaders. Megan. Hey, Betty. He's really struggling. Can you at least hear him out? Me know. Megan. Wow. Cold. After all that time together. Me. He made his choice. Now he lives with it. I blocked her. Then came Dylan, an old college buddy of Stephen's. Dylan. Don't you think you're overreacting? He said he just needs time. I typed one word back, good, then blocked him too. By the third night, Stephen switched tactics. The messages were no longer about us, they were about him. Betty, the landlord, says I have to take over the lease. I can't afford it alone. This isn't fair. You owe me. After everything I gave you, you can't just abandon me like this. That word again, abandon. It burned, but not in the way he intended. I whispered into the dark of my new apartment. I didn't abandon you, Stephen. You let me go. The landlord called me once hesitant. Betty, he says you moved out without notice. That true, I gave notice. I paid my half. The lease is in his name now. A pause, then a sigh. He's saying he can't cover it. That's not my problem anymore. Fair enough, the landlord said quietly. I hung up and for the first time I smiled. But the calls didn't stop. Blocked numbers, social media DMs. Even Stephen's mother once tried her message laced with guilt. He's hurting Betty. Are you really going to just leave him like this? I didn't reply. Instead, I set my phone down, poured myself a glass of wine, and opened the window of my new apartment. The night air was cool, clean, untouched by his presence. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. Stephen didn't know it yet, but his desperation was only beginning. And me, I was just starting to taste freedom. It didn't take long for the cracks to show. Whispers drifted back to me through mutual friends, through neighbors, through people I barely remembered adding on social media. One afternoon at the grocery store near my new place, I bumped into Mr. Hayes, our old neighbor. His kind eyes softened when he saw me. Betty, haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Yeah, I answered lightly, adjusting the strap of my bag. Just moved. And Stephen. His tone was careful testing. I shrugged. Not my problem anymore. He gave me a long look, then nodded slowly. He came by yesterday. Looked shaken. Asked if I'd seen you. Couldn't even meet my eye. I forced a polite smile. I'm sure he'll figure something out. As I walked away, my heart didn't ache like I thought it would. Instead, there was a strange emptiness, like hearing about a stranger instead of the man I'd once built a life with. A week later, Tina, an old friend who had always been caught in the middle, found me at a coffee shop. She hesitated before sitting down across from me. Betty, I just wanted to say I'm sorry about how things ended with Stephen. I sipped my drink, not offering comfort. It's fine. No, it's not. He's been a mess. Couch surfing, picking fights with everyone, blaming you for everything. Honestly, it's embarrassing. Her eyes searched mine, almost pleading for me to react. I shrugged. People show their true colors eventually. Tina lowered her voice. He keeps telling everyone you abandoned him. But after the way he treated you, I don't even recognize him anymore. For the first time in a while, I smiled, not out of joy, but out of relief. Sometimes people don't realize what they had until it's gone, and by then, it's too late. Tina exhaled, nodding. You're stronger than I thought. News traveled faster than I wanted. A friend of a friend texted me late one evening. Stephen snapped at a client at the salon. He's been late too many times. They fired him today. I read the message twice, my thumb hovering over the screen. Then I set the phone down and went back to folding laundry. Not pity, not satisfaction, just nothing. And yet when I was alone at night, the echoes came. 4 years of memories knocking on the walls of my mind. The nights we danced in the kitchen with music playing low. The road trips where he made me laugh until my stomach hurt. The mornings when he kissed me on the forehead and whispered, "Don't worry, I've got us." All of it had been real once. Or maybe I just wanted to believe it was. Now those echoes were hollow. The love had decayed into entitlement. The promises into debts he believed I owed him. Still a part of me whispered late at night, what if I had stayed? Would he have changed? Would he have realized what he was losing before it was too late? But then my phone buzzed again, another desperate unknown number, another message begging for help. And my answer became clear, no, he never would have changed. Stephen's regret was growing louder, but mine I had none. It was a Thursday evening when I saw him again. I had just finished at the gym, muscles aching, sweat dripping down my back when I noticed someone leaning against my car. Stephen. His arms were crossed, but there was no strength in the pose. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair greasy dark circles smudging under his eyes. He looked smaller than I remembered, like the weight of his choices had finally pressed him down. "Betty," he said, his voice cracking. I froze for a moment, the parking lot buzzing with distant traffic. Then I kept walking, unlocking my car. "Stephen, please, can we talk?" His eyes were desperate, almost childlike. I didn't stop moving. "About what?" "About us. About everything. I miss you." That word "us" felt foreign now, like it belonged to strangers. I turned to face him fully, the streetlight spilling shadows across his face. "No, Stephen, you don't miss me. You miss the idea of me. You miss having someone to pay your bills, to clean up your messes, to make excuses for you. But you don't miss me." His lips trembled. "That's not true. I made a mistake. I was confused. I didn't think you'd actually leave." "That's the problem." My voice came out sharp, steadier than I felt. "You never thought. You just took. And when I finally stopped giving, you didn't know what to do." He stepped closer, his voice raising. "So what, you're just going to throw away 4 years, like it meant nothing?" The words stung, but I met his gaze without flinching. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally seeing it for what it really was. And you're not part of my present. You're not part of my future." For a moment, silence. Then his face twisted into anger. "You're such a selfish bitch," he spat, his voice echoing in the nearly empty lot. "You think you're better than me?" I almost laughed at the irony. Instead, I smiled, calm, unshaken. "I don't have to think it. I know it." The words hit him like a slap. He flinched, his eyes wide, wounded. "Betty," his voice cracked softer now. "Please, don't do this. Don't leave me like this." I opened my car door, my hand steady on the handle. I already did. And for the first time, I watched him break, not with anger, but with silence. His body seemed to fold in on itself as I closed the door and started the engine. As I pulled away, headlights cutting through the night, I felt no guilt, no hesitation, only clarity. Stephen was finally forced to face himself, and I was finally free. The messages didn't stop, not at first. Through friends, through social media, through whispers that found their way back to me. Betty abandoned him. He's sleeping on couches. He moved back in with his mother. Every story painted me as the villain, and for a while I braced myself for the sting. But the sting never came, because I knew the truth, and more importantly, I knew my peace. 3 weeks after leaving, I stood in my new apartment, a small one-bedroom with creaky floors and a view of the river. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Every detail, the coffee mug on the counter, the blanket draped over the chair, the quiet hum of the fridge belonged to me alone. No more waiting for the key in the lock at 3 a.m. No more sitting on the couch wondering why love suddenly felt like a chore. No more tiptoeing around someone who had already checked out. One evening, Derek, an old mutual friend, called me. "Did you hear Stephen lost his job? He's been asking around about you. Where you're living, if you're seeing anyone." I let out a quiet laugh. "Let him ask." "You're ice cold," Derek muttered, though not without a note of respect. "No," I said softly, watching the sunset stain the river orange. "I'm just finally at peace." Later that night, I sat on the balcony with a glass of wine in hand. The air was warm, the city lights flickered like stars below, and for the first time in what felt like years, my chest didn't ache. I thought of the woman I had been, Betty, who stayed up waiting, who paid and planned and forgave, who begged for scraps of attention. She was gone. In her place was someone stronger, steadier, someone who had learned that love without respect isn't love at all. My phone buzzed one last time, another unknown number. I didn't even check. I slid it aside, letting the night wrap around me. The world outside kept moving, but inside I was still, free. I closed my eyes, took a slow sip of wine, and whispered to myself, this is mine now. And as the city hummed beneath me, I felt